Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about depression and specifically about its relationship with our society. So I'm making this video as part of a series in which I'm going to explain the content of a book that I authored, which is this one, Quasi-human. You don't need to know anything about the book itself, but if you want, there is a website up there that explains you everything. What I will do is I will pick up topics from this book based on my readers' feedback, and I will explain them. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to make an exercise in which we set down 3 main rules of how to forge a character that can show symptoms of depression or can have depression, and still it's approved by society, which means the audience is going to love this character. The first thing we want to do is we want to create this person within a vulnerable demographic. This doesn't mean the person is weak, it just means that it belongs to certain people that were, I don't know, victim of child abuse or bullyism, or has a terminal illness, or, parents are dead, something like this. I'm pretty sure you know plenty of characters that fit this profile already. Now, the second rule is we want to make sure that, maybe not in the present of the story, but in the past, this character has always been a good person. In this way, we make sure that whatever bad behavior this character might have at the present, during the story, is not blamed on him or in his nature or her nature, but is blamed on the depression itself. And the third thing I want to do is I want to make sure that whatever triggers these behaviors is something that is irreversible during the story, I mean. So I don't want to make the reader or the audience comfortable in saying that, this character could just get over that, and that means it has to be not particularly bad, but irreversible, definitely irreversible. Now, if we follow these 3 rules, we have a character that, if he shows symptoms of depression, well, that just makes it more realistic, right? However, this has a problem when it comes to the real world, and it's based on the fact that, first off, as real people, we are not designed to be liked by anyone. And second, depression is not a thing that is designed to make us more interesting or more realistic. It's actually designed to hurt us and eventually even to kill us. And the way it does it is by shrinking certain areas of the brain. It actually deforms the brain, and it jams a thing called a reward mechanism, which is what your brain normally would do when something good happens to you. Well, it would make you feel happy. Now, if you have depression, this happiness just doesn't come. Actually, sometimes it works the other way around. Your brain works against you and makes you feel humiliated by good things and even sad or, very depressed. And so how does this relate with vulnerable demographics and irreversible conditions? Well, in short, it doesn't. You can get depression from very simple things like a lack of sleep. Either you studied or worked too much, or you have a pain somewhere that doesn't let you sleep. Yes, it's true, a traumatic experience can help depression coming in, but you don't really need that. You can be just genetically prone to it, which means you don't need any heartbreaking stories. You don't need any condition whatsoever. You just get depressed out of nowhere. And this is the point in which society really starts failing you, because you don't have anything to be depressed for. Well, apart from depression, of course. So now I want to do a different exercise. I want to pick up a person, a real person such as me or you, and I want to apply depression to show just how bad it can get, okay? So this time we have depression, out of nowhere. We don't need a reason, we know that now. And we haven't been sleeping for 3-4 weeks, and that obviously makes us grumpy. The usual cliche, don't talk to me until I get my coffee. This time though, coffee just doesn't cut it. The sounds are louder, things are a bit more annoying, our attention span is low, so we make more mistakes and we disappoint people around us. And this goes on for days, for weeks, until, at a certain point, we might get angry and we might start shouting back. And that means that we become abrasive co-workers, so our boss might fire us. We become abusive partners or bad parents. And that means that society can take off our family, our kids away from us. And in the end of the day, we don't know why, we are on the side of the street with a hat on the floor and watching people passing by and telling between each other that they won't give us any money because we might use it on drugs or alcohol. Well, no, we are not good people here. Society doesn't see us that way. When you read about an abusive partner, you don't see anyone being sympathetic to the abuser. You see people being sympathetic to the victim. And if we put ourselves to the shoes of these people, of our partners, of our parents, of our children, of our co-workers, we realize that they haven't done anything wrong. Actually, we cannot pretend a person to stand for an abusive relationship, not even if there is depression involved. It's just wrong. Society hasn't done anything wrong. You haven't done anything wrong yourself because you haven't chosen to have depression. You just happen to catch it. And so this is very complicated because there is nobody we can blame. The only thing that we can blame is depression itself, and the only thing we can do is actually treat depression before all of that happens. That does sound pretty grim, right? But there is an alternate universe, a universe in which we have the same depression, we have exactly the same brain with exactly the same problem, with exactly the same amount of sleep. But this time we're not angry. We go out, we take a run, maybe we box, we release that anger somehow, and when we get home we take a very long shower, we spend hours grooming ourselves and ironing our best shirts, and when we go out of to the real world, we put a smile on our face. Maybe there is a person on the street that annoys us. It just annoys us as much as it was doing the other time, well, in the other universe, but this time we smile, we laugh. Our co-workers or our boss or our clients are disappointed with us, and we smile. And we go back home and the house is a mess and people around us are, they haven't done anything and the kids have been naughty and so on. And we smile. Wait a moment. We're smiling at pretty much everything. We're smiling at good things, we're smiling at bad things. And now this behavior is very real, and it's called a smiling depression. And we can do this consciously. Well, this alternate self of us can do this consciously because, well, we're depressed, we're not stupid. We might know that depression can cause all those problems that we just mentioned, but we can do this also subconsciously, which means we might not even know that we have depression in the first place. And now that is quite complicated because if we don't know that we have depression, well, how can society do that? How can society know that? So at that point, yes, society doesn't blame us, society doesn't consider us as villains and so on, but they also don't understand that we have a problem. So now we have constructed two situations in which one way or the other society doesn't really empathize with us. One because we are villains of society, and the other ones in which we're not really sick for them. And what about those triggers, those little things or big things that might happen to us that trigger our depressive behavior, that makes us sad or angry or whatever? And well, chances are we are going to have a friend or a family member that will come to us with an advice, and this advice goes along the lines of, you need to take control over your life, you need to see this as an opportunity, you need to do something, go on an adventure, get over it. Now that is great advice. It's great advice for healthy people. In people with depression, this doesn't work because that reward process that we explained earlier is jammed. It just doesn't work properly. And so that is the catch. That's the catch. This advice works if you have that reward process to help you out, to make you happy about something and make you positive enough to pursue it. Okay? So in that way you turn something bad into something good. You redempt it. Okay? But we have depression. So we can't get over it. That's as simple as that. Actually, this thing of getting over it is a consequence of a good treatment. So when we start having that behavior, when we start moving on, that is the sign that whatever we are doing to help our depression is working. But unfortunately, it cannot be a treatment itself because of that reward system that is broken in us. And here, I hope you understand that depression is not something easy, okay? And so we actually cannot pretend from society and from people around us to know everything of how to cope with depression or know how to treat us, you know? Well, if we got pneumonia or cancer or a broken arm, we wouldn't just go to our mother or our friends and be like, hey, you know, can you treat this for me? No, we would go to the hospital. But here's the thing. If we have cancer, we go to the hospital and we meet with the oncologist, who in our mind is that very nice person who happens to be the best friend of the crazy guy that makes diagnoses, right? But if we go to the psychiatrist for our depression, we are going to that guy that eats us for dinner after therapy, or that straps us on a chair to mess up with our brain. No. Now that's not what happens in reality. In reality, psychiatrists are just people that have dedicated all their lives trying to learn and trying to help you, okay? And they're doctors. They're just as doctors as any other, you know? And you should allow them to explain to you what to do with your depression. You should allow them to help, because they also are people who understood that their job is not very easy. And I hope you understand this. When you choose a path like psychiatry, you probably have to cope with the fact that you're going to fail much more times than you're going to win. And so when you actually manage to help someone, well, I'm pretty sure they're going to be happy about it. Okay, they're going to be thrilled by it. So that's what you should do. You should do what you would do for anything else. Go to the doctor. Now, there is also something else that we can do. Maybe we already know we have depression. We are already being treated for depression in some sort of way. But we want to do more, okay? And chances are that we live close to a big city or close to civilization in general. And the thing is that everywhere where there is civilization, there's probably an hospital, and everywhere where there is an hospital, there is somebody who is interested in studying depression. Depression is a big thing in science. And the way science works is by stacking up knowledge until somebody manages to find a pattern and exploit that pattern to create a cure. In science, we have seen this many times, so many times that I don't even doubt that one day we will find a cure. We will definitely find a cure. And when that happens, we will be thankful not only to the people that found the cure, that realized about that pattern and developed the cure, but also to all those people that contributed in stacking up that knowledge. So what you can do is that you can just get interested. Find out if there is people that are doing something. They probably won't open your skull and poke into your brain. They would much more likely just put you on a machine and ask you a question and show you photos while they monitor what sparks in your brain. And this might not help you directly, but it will help humanity, and it will do a great deal for humanity. And everybody, I think, everybody would be proud to do this once they have understood the implications of it. So I've been talking a bit too much already, so I'm gonna stop here. But I hope this video has been educational, and I hope if any time you will have to face depression, whether you are the person with depression or somebody else you're related with has depression, you will be able to take a step back and think and try to empathize and allow to take those steps that will avoid depression to take over and eventually destroy the life of people. You know, maybe you won't be able to cure it, but you can be able to cope with it or to help other people to cope with it. So, well, thank you for listening, and take care.